Welcome to Breaking News to Trading Moves. We are looking at a specific roadmap update coming out of Cupertino today. It looks like Apple is adjusting its schedule, and while that sounds like standard corporate planning, moving a date here, tweaking a feature there, it actually creates a pretty precise set of conditions for the market.
That's right. We aren't talking about a simple product delay because of some logistics snag. This seems to be a very calculated split in how they release their devices. It's a change in their standard operating procedure.
So let's get the headline on the table right away. I mean, usually you can set your watch by the September event. What's the new schedule that the report outlines?
The report indicates that Apple is planning to prioritize its premium iPhone launches, so specifically the Pro and Pro Max models, for the second half of 2026.
Okay.
But the detail that really changes the trading landscape is the inclusion of the first foldable iPhone in that same window. They're focusing entirely on the high end for that holiday season.
A foldable? Wow, we've been seeing patents and hearing rumors about that for years now. But what about the standard model, the iPhone 18 that the vast majority of people actually go out and buy?
That device is reportedly moving to the first half of 2027.
2027.
So you have a very deliberate scheduling change, pushing the standard iPhone 18 completely out of that traditional holiday window and into the next calendar year.
That is a distinct break in rhythm. Usually we get the whole lineup, good, better, best all at once. So why break that rhythm now? What are the drivers here?
Well, the report cites a few factual reasons, but they all seem to point toward margin protection.
Okay.
First, you've got supply chain constraints. We're seeing higher costs for memory, both NAND and DRAM, and for certain logic components right now.
So the input costs are just climbing.
Exactly. And when the cost of the raw silicon goes up, your profit per phone goes down unless you raise prices. If you try to launch everything at once, millions of standard phones alongside the Pros with those costs so high, you squeeze your margins on the cheaper phones.
You could even end up selling them at a much lower profit than shareholders are expecting.
That's it. So it allows them to manage the balance sheet, but it's also a marketing strategy. You prioritize the devices that make the most money per unit during the biggest shopping season.
And there's another piece, right? The execution risk.
Yes, the execution risk around the foldable design. A foldable device isn't just a phone, it's a mechanical challenge.
A huge logistical hurdle.
It is. If you're trying to ramp up a mass-market standard phone, we're talking tens of millions of units. At the exact same time, you're trying to figure out the manufacturing for a brand new, highly complex form factor.
You're asking for trouble. You're stretching your best engineers and your factories way too thin.
Precisely. So by pushing the standard model back, they clear the runway. All the focus goes to the complex, high-margin devices.
Okay, so that's the news. A split release. Premium now, standard later. Now we need to get to the trading angle. How does a trader look at this and figure out where the money flows? Because usually with Apple, volume is king.
Usually, yes. But in this scenario, you have to look at the concept of margin up, units mixed.
Break that down for us. Margin up, units mixed.
So typically, investors want to see units up. They want to see Apple selling 5–10% more phones than last year. But here, the volume for the base models might drop in the near term because of the delay. Total units sold in Q4 might actually be down.
But the content per phone lifts.
Exactly.
Content per phone. Are we talking about the bill of materials?
Yes, and the revenue per sale, the dollar value of the components inside the phone. A premium foldable phone has much more expensive internals, more silicon, more complex materials than a standard iPhone 18.
Yeah.
So even if the total number of phones sold stays flat or even dips a little, the value of the parts inside each phone increases.
Which brings us directly to our first category of winners. If the content is going up, we need to look at who makes that content. Let's talk silicon and components.
The theme here is exactly that, content up.
Okay, so we're looking for the companies that make the chips for these high-end devices. But help me understand, why does a foldable need different silicon than just a regular phone?
That is the key to the trade. Premium models, and especially foldables, have different physics. First, let's talk about power. If you're running a device that is essentially a tablet that folds in half, you have a massive screen area.
So power management, how the phone sips battery, that becomes critical. You can't have it dying in 4 hours.
Right. You need highly sophisticated PMICs, power management and integrated circuits. You can't use your generic components. You need chips that can handle variable loads, manage heat in a weirdly shaped device, and coordinate between split battery cells.
And who's the player there?
Analog devices. Ticker symbol ADI. They are leaders in high-performance analog chips. They deal with the real-world heat, voltage signals. A complex foldable is a dense electronic environment.
So ADI is the play for the complexity of power. What about connectivity? I imagine a folding phone introduces some radio issues.
Issues is putting it lightly. Think about the antenna. In a normal phone, the bands are static. In a foldable, the device changes shape. You might be covering the antenna with your hand differently.
So you need smarter radios.
You need top-tier connectivity to compensate. And this brings us to Broadcom, ticker symbol AVGO.
AVGO.
They're heavily tied to the wireless ecosystem, specifically the FBAR filters that separate signals. When specs go up or the physical environment gets difficult for radio waves, Broadcom benefits because they sell the premium solutions.
Okay, so AVGO for the filters, and obviously the modem itself.
That's Qualcomm, ticker QCOM. The high-end iPhones always lean on the best available modems. I mean, if you're charging $1,800 for a foldable, you can't have dropped calls. You need that Snapdragon modem.
So the analysis is that these specific component makers, analog devices, Broadcom, Qualcomm, they win because they're selling a more expensive part for each device.
Exactly. It's a density play. The density of dollars per square inch of silicon just goes up.
Let's move to the physical aspect, the screen. With a foldable, the display is obviously the main feature, and frankly, historically, it's been the point of failure for other brands.
It has. And that creates our second category of winners, display and materials. The theme is advanced hardware requirements.
Right.
Think about the physics of a foldable. You aren't just slapping a piece of glass on a rectangle anymore. You need materials that can bend repeatedly hundreds of thousands of times without breaking. And, crucially, without getting a deep crease.
I remember the early foldables from competitors. They felt like plastic.
And Apple generally avoids that. If they're shipping in 2026, it implies they're using a hybrid material, probably an ultra-thin glass or UKG mixed with some advanced polymers.
So who provides that kind of glass?
Corning is the name to watch, ticker GLW. They've been Apple's partner on glass for years. But a foldable roadmap pushes the engineering requirements for that glass much, much higher.
GLW. So instead of selling a standard sheet of glass, they're selling a highly engineered material that costs more.
Yes, it represents margin expansion for Corning. But there's another layer. How do you cut that glass? How do you process it so it doesn't shatter when you bend it?
I assume you can't just use a standard cutter.
No, you need lasers. This brings us to Coherent, ticker COHR. They are involved in the materials and laser systems used to process these displays. You need precision cutting that modifies the atomic structure of the glass edge so microcracks don't form.
That sounds incredibly precise.
It is. A shift to a premium first release with a foldable is a direct signal that these high-spec materials and machines that make them are going to be in demand.
Moving on to the third winner, this one's a bit closer to home for the brand itself. We're talking ecosystem and margins.
The theme here is average selling price, or ASP.
And this is about Apple itself, ticker AAPL.
It is. This is the core of the bull case for the stock. If you prioritize the models that cost $1,200, $1,500, maybe even $2,000 for a foldable, your whole revenue mix shifts.
You might sell fewer boxes, but every box brings in more money.
And that supports gross margins. But there's a secondary benefit, too. We call it the services attach.
Can you explain that?
Think about the customer who buys a $2,000 iPhone on launch day. Who is that person?
An affluent user, a tech enthusiast probably.
Right. That user is the most likely to buy AppleCare Plus bundle, which is pure profit. They're the most likely to subscribe to the top-tier Apple One bundle. They own the Apple Watch Ultra, the AirPods Pro.
I see. You don't buy a premium foldable phone and then buy a cheap knockoff case.
Exactly. The ecosystem monetization is just stronger with a premium-heavy launch. You capture the high-value users first. You also see accessory upgrades. A new form factor means everyone needs new cases, new car mounts.
Yeah.
It completely refreshes that market.
Okay, that covers the upside. It sounds positive for chip makers and for Apple's finance team, but a split roadmap, it creates gaps. And gaps create losers. Let's talk about the volume-sensitive supply chain.
This is the other side of the coin. The theme here is the production gap.
This affects the companies that rely on churning out millions of standard units, right? The assemblers.
Correct. The delay of the standard iPhone 18 to 2027 is a logistical problem for them. These companies operate on narrow margins. They rely on high-volume ramps. They need factories running at near full capacity to make money.
So if the mass market phone isn't there and the lines are only running at 60%, making the expensive pros.
You lose operating leverage. Your fixed costs, the electricity, the building, the workers, they eat your profit. It creates a timing gap in their revenue.
And low utilization hurts profitability in manufacturing. Who are the kickers facing this risk?
Jabil is one, ticker JBL. They're a major manufacturing partner for casings and components. They thrive on volume. If that volume is reduced for the holiday quarter, their earnings face a challenge.
JBL and the other.
Flex, ticker FLEX. Same dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
These are the companies doing the heavy lifting of assembly at scale. When the scale product gets delayed, their near-term revenue cadence gets disrupted.
It's basically a hole in their calendar where revenue used to be.
Yes, they'll get it eventually in 2027. But the market dislikes uncertainty, and it dislikes gaps in quarterly earnings.
Let's move to the next group of losers, the telecom carriers. This one is noteworthy because I usually think of new iPhones as a driver for them.
This is arguably one of the more difficult spots. The theme is the upgrade cycle.
And we're talking about the U.S. carriers, so AT&T and Verizon.
Right. Ticker T for AT&T and ticker VZ for Verizon.
How does this delay hurt them? Don't they want to sell expensive phones with bigger installment plans?
They do, but they rely on volume to drive subscriber acquisition. Think about the commercials you see every September. It's usually, get the new iPhone, honest.
Right. Trade in any old phone, get the new one free.
Those promotions are designed for a broad upgrade wave. They want everyone to upgrade, not just the tech enthusiasts. They use the mass market iPhone launch to lock customers into new contracts.
Ah, I see. So the phone is the tool they use to secure the customer.
Exactly. In the mass market, the family's upgrading 4 lines at once. They buy the standard iPhone 18. They generally do not buy 4 expensive Pros or 4 foldables.
So if the standard model isn't there, the incentive is gone. The price-sensitive upgrader just waits.
Correct. And that softens the cycle considerably. It pushes that activation momentum into next year. For a carrier trying to show quarterly subscriber growth in Q4, that is a headwind.
So the holiday quarter for carriers might look a lot quieter than usual.
That's the risk.
Our final category of losers brings us back to retail, but from a different angle. Retail and consumer demand.
The theme here is price sensitivity and macroeconomics.
We're talking now Best Buy and Amazon.
Ticker BBY for Best Buy and ticker AMZN for Amazon.
Now, earlier we said Best Buy might win on accessories, but here we are saying they lose on demand. Why the difference?
It's about risk profile and foot traffic. If Apple's lineup is skewed entirely toward premium price tiers, say $1,200 and up, you're concentrating your demand on a smaller group of consumers.
You're leaving out people who have a set budget.
Right, and this makes the sales cycle sensitive to the economy. If macro conditions weaken, a cycle that depends entirely on premium buyers becomes elastic.
Elastic meaning demand can shrink easily.
Yes. In a Base Plus Pro cycle, if money is tight, a customer might step down from the Pro to the base model. But they still buy an iPhone. They still walk into Best Buy.
But if there is no base model?
They don't buy anything. They hold on to their old phone for another year. They don't walk into the store.
So the floor falls out?
That's the danger. Retailers like Best Buy rely on moving units. Volume drives the ecosystem. If the entry price is too high for the average consumer, foot traffic slows down and total transaction volume drops.
So to bring this all together, we have a clear picture. Apple is betting big on 2026 being the year of the high-margin, high-tech device.
That's the summary. They're prioritizing the premium and the foldable. This creates distinct winners in the high-tech component space, the people making the advanced radios, the glass, the power chips.
And it leaves the mass market for 2027, which impacts the volume manufacturers and the carriers who need that steady flow of upgrades.
It's a trade-off. Margin over volume. Complexity over consistency.
It's a bold move. Before we wrap up, is there one last thought you want to leave our listener with?
There is one thing that stands out to me. The foldable. We've heard rumors about an iPhone Fold for what feels like 5 or 6 years. Other competitors have been in this space for a long time.
It feels like Apple is late to the party.
Or, you could argue, they're waiting until the technology is actually ready for the mainstream. The fact that this roadmap now explicitly includes a foldable signals something very specific. Apple believes the tech is finally mature enough to carry the brand.
Meaning the durability is there.
Exactly. They don't do beta tests with their flagship hardware. If they're putting it on the roadmap for 2026, it implies they have solved the durability and utility questions. It validates the form factor in a way no other company can. If Apple is doing it, the supply chain for foldables is about to expand.
That's a thought worth holding on to. If Apple is in, the category is real.
Absolutely. Now, before we go, I need to read our disclaimer. Please note that this is not financial advice or buy or sell recommendations. This is purely the opinion of the author.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.